The recent horror flick Willy's Wonderland was highly anticipated based on its premise alone. Nicolas Cage stuck in a children's themed restaurant battling demonic animatronic puppets. I was sold on it back when it was announced the beginning of last year, especially since I have a soft spot for direct to video Cage films. While not conventionally good by any standards, those are light, fun, easygoing affairs that often have the iconic actor going all in with his performances, committed as always. And you occasionally get the good gem, like Mom and Dad and The Color Out of Space. Sadly, Willy's Wonderland is a really bad film. Technically speaking, it looks ugly. The location for Willy's Wonderland is a very small and cheap set with the bare minimum of production design that does not make any rooms stand out. The camera work is mostly shaky and handheld, especially during the action sequences, with very dark close-up shots that make it hard to distinguish what is going on, and the editing is painfully choppy, adding to the incoherent aesthetic of the whole film. The biggest offender, however, and the main reason why I didn't like this film, is the script. This is an excellent example in how to write a basic screenplay that is lacking in many of the elements that make a story worth telling, and it's not done subversively. I have outlined 5 major points to better explain what doesn't work about this script. We all love Nick Cage, his zany antics, and genuine passion for the craft of acting. It is a known fact that he is a massive fan of silent cinema, especially German Expressionism, and apparently this was his reason for championing G.O. Parsons' script for Willy's Wonderland, because the nameless protagonist does not utter a single word throughout the film. While on paper this could have led to a delightfully over-the-top mute performance, what we actually received was a pretty boring character. The silent protagonist trope has been done time and time again, most famously in Sergio Corbucci's classic western The Great Silence. But here, it isn't used to any real effect. Nick Cage was not the best choice for the role, as someone more stoic, able to show nuance through their stare alone, could have benefited the film much more, instead of being forced to see an actor known for his freakouts just sleepwalk through the entire runtime. No real reason or backstory is ever given to his character, which is acceptable in a way, but there really is nothing to him, and the most jarring aspect is how casually he reacts to the animatronics randomly attacking and trying to kill him.
I'm gonna feast on your face!
There was potential for good humor out of him not talking, and the screenwriter should have embraced the janitor's mutism instead of simply not having him talk. The side cast of characters is as forgettable and cliched as they come, in a way that feels lazy and half-assed. The only ones that have any semblance of depth are the teenager Liv, whose parents were murdered inside the abandoned restaurant and now wants to burn it to the ground, Sheriff Lund, mainly because Beth Grant has a solid screen presence and has an element of internal conflict, and Tex Mercado, who has been given the janitor position to drifters to keep the demonic puppets satiated. Everyone else is the definition of disposable, and by everyone else I mean the annoying teenagers that follow Liv inside the restaurant. While even in other really bad scripts, these characters tend to follow very specific archetypes, such as the jock, the nerd, the promiscuous one, and so on, here they have no distinguishable characteristic at all. They're just cannon fodder, needed to justify a body count and nothing more. You would not even need to have these characters have any real depth, but good chemistry between the actors and a couple of earnest scenes of them interacting with each other as a group before they start getting slaughtered would have at least made this less mind-numbing to watch. It does not help that the performances by all of them are very weak, further diminishing any sense of tension that one might feel for them before they get torn apart by the monsters.
Damn. Everybody okay? Yeah. I see you guys to join us.
What are you guys doing here?
Oh my god. Wait, you're alive.
One key element of a screenplay that makes a story surprising and engaging for the viewer to see is the presence of setups and payoffs. Introducing specific props or character quirks that would come to a satisfying conclusion in the latter half of the film. Well, none of those things really happen in Willy's Wonderland. Are you wondering why the janitor keeps drinking energy drinks in specific time intervals? No reason. Why does he love playing pinball so much? Who knows? Why are the animatronics attacking people one by one instead of teaming up from the get-go? Never explained. The whole story unfolds in the most predictable, by-the-numbers way possible, with no impactful or even stupid reveal happening. The script does spend an awful amount of time explaining why these animatronics are demonic, but even then, it's not like the serial killers embodying them ever talk or have a clear personality or memorable design that makes them stand out from one another. It is one of the main requirements for an OK script, to have setups and payoffs, and the main source of inspiration for this, which is Sam Raimi's Evil Dead trilogy, is chock full of them, as well as clever foreshadowing, which this movie completely fails at. I have often defended characters doing dumb things in horror movies, both because under stress people tend to have poor judgment, and because it is funnier and more engaging to see them fail. But Willy's Wonderland takes it to a whole other level. I have previously stated that the lack of a reaction of any kind from Cage to the mayhem around him is just confusing. But the behavior of the teenagers is especially baffling, as they keep splitting up, knowing full well that there are monsters around ready to kill them. Already you have shells of human beings just waiting to be killed off, but by making them do these senseless decisions only helps in further annoying me rather than keeping me entertained. Lastly, the whole movie is just plain repetitive from beginning to end. Virtually every encounter between Cage and the animatronics starts with one of them attacking him, and they end with the janitor simply beating them to a pulp. This happens every 10 minutes or so, with no variation whatsoever. The lack of good character design for the monsters only damages the lack of diversity, so that even the kills of the teenagers are all fairly standard. It's structureless, unengaging, and plain and simply boring to watch from beginning to end. These action and horror sequences could have benefited from moodier lighting, animatronics with clearly defined characteristics, and the use of unexpected props around the room. They could have had a scene inside the kitchen, where Cage has to use pans and pots and forks to defend himself, maybe ending with him slamming the animatronic into the pinball machine he loves so much. Instead, nothing. It's just a succession of poorly lit, shaky, quickly edited beatings. Even outside of all of this, there is no life and energy to the filmmaking, and no real self-awareness to make these criticisms less heavy. I am a massive fan of schlocky horror cinema, and have turned a blind eye to many cheap films because they try to do something new, clever, or innovative with their stories. Willy's Wonderland is just a disappointment in every single aspect, and a poor rip-off of the video game franchise Five Nights at Freddy's to boot. One of the weakest films to come out this year, one that could have been so much better if it were rewritten to make it more memorable. But these are just my thoughts on this film. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of Willy's Wonderland, and tell me what's your favorite direct-to-video Nick Cage film. Remember to subscribe to the channel and support us on Patreon for future projects. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.